And welcome to RickCast, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk about things and it's you who makes the show go. I am Rick, obviously, of RickCast, and we are in for a good night. We got a lot to talk about. We got some good things to talk about on this beautiful, third day of the Sacred Heart of our Lord and Savior. And yeah, I hope everything's going well for all y'all. We got a couple hot takes. Spicy hot takes tonight. Very, very spicy, actually. As far as news out of Charlotte regarding the traditional Latin Mass, and something going on as far as, once again, proving that conservatives are too stupid for their own good, and getting into it with the conservative simp problem, because there is a huge conservative simp problem that we need to address, and nobody better than myself to do it, because too many people on the right are scared to say this, despite the fact that they want to be, masculine and all these other things. Now, of course, there are men that will say it, but your mainstreamers, your mainliners, the ones that want to get invited to the conferences and hang out with these people, which I have no desire to do, they will dance around the subject. I have no qualms about talking about this. You're gonna have to wait and see. It's gonna be our first hot take. Then we have our 4 stories. Hegseth, the SecDef, wants to rename the ships that are named after the homosexuals, at least one of them, and I am all for it. It's time to make our battleships and our aircraft carriers and our destroyers awesome names again, and not named after PDF files. There is no AI regulation in the big, beautiful bill, and it's so bad that Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, by the way, I didn't read the bill, so I didn't know there was no AI regulation in it, which just shows you, I mean, give her credit for saying it, but it really shows you that these people they don't deserve 1 cent of the 175,000 that they make every year. Trump doesn't like Amy Coney Barrett. Well, at least you know Trump's one of us. And then finally, Disney fires everyone. And they have announced that streaming is dead. And it is quite clear that out of the streaming wars, you have 2 possible winners and 1 absolute winner. The 2 possible winners could be Netflix or Amazon Prime, because Netflix didn't lose its lead status, and Amazon Prime took a different approach because they just use it as big advertisements, right? Everything on Amazon Prime is just, it's a big marketing vehicle to buy crap from Amazon. But the true winner is Sony, and I agree with Midnight's Edge when he says that, because Sony didn't even bother getting involved in the streaming wars. They just said, we don't have the time, the energy, or the resources to do this, so we'll just keep on licensing to Netflix. And Bob Iger destroyed or sunk billions of dollars into Disney Plus, only to have it be an absolute failure. You just hate to see it to a nicer guy. All right. And yeah, of course, your commentary, whether you're on Rumble or Getter or D Live or Kick, because we're hanging out on Kick tonight as well. We're all over the place. My once Twitch streamer, YouTube, of course, and X, who I guess they like me tonight. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's always a toss up with these people. So let's see if they like me. Oh, they're actually showing the broadcast as of right now. So look at that. That's impressive. They're actually showing it for a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. When my bar rats trickle in, they will start commentating on the show. But if you want to jump in sooner and start commentating, leaving some comments down below, it makes the show better because it gives me people to bounce off of. I love bouncing off the comments that you guys give me because it keeps me on my feet, and it makes sure that it brings up things that I don't know. Give me a second. Come on. Oh, is it dead? I think it's dead. I think pour one out for my homie. It's dead. Not like dead. I forgot to charge it. Anyway. Oh, well. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Right off the bat, big thank you. Not a sponsor of the show, but I blatantly use his product. I blatantly use their product in the countdown. The flag, the image you saw was a flag that you can get from tradflags.com. You can go there, tradflags.com. They have monthly flags, specialty flags, magnets, Marion flags, all kinds of great things. Rear view mirror flags, awesome stuff. Check them out at tradflags.com. Once again, they're not a sponsor of the show, but since I blatantly use their product for my own purposes, I'm hoping that if I promote them and one of y'all or 2 of y'all buy a flag, I'm not saying you should, but if you're inspired to, maybe he'll be like, all right, well, I won't tell you to stop using it. I mean, I'm just giving the guy free promotion, which I'm sure he's fine with. Tradflags.com, tradflags.com. Check it out today. And if you like the products, which I think are fantastic products, buy one. All right, let's get to our first spicy story of the day. From afpost.com. I don't know who they are, but their point is clear. T-Pusa, which nobody else seems to call it but me, and the shoe fits, so you might as well wear it. T-Pusa's Young Women's Leadership Summit features numerous feminists, nagging housewives, unmarried middle-aged women, and a former corn star, Nyla Ray. T-Pusa branded itself as conservative and pro-Christian. So if you'd like to take a look at the Women's Leadership Summit, which I thought we on the right, and this is the whole thing about the covert feminism that we talked about with Tommy Lauren last week. The covert feminism on the right where we talk about, well, the right is family values. Women should get married and they should support their husband, and we should have 2-parent homes, and the mother should stay and raise the child. And then you have Megyn Kelly coming out being like, why do we want to do that? Why can't we have these amazing women be the next Megyn Kelly? And everybody goes, shut up, Megyn. All right, just go be the pretty face to have the 50-year-old guys goon over so they can, vote for Trump again. But now you have the leadership summit. And if you look, you have Alex Clark. I know Brett Cooper's married. I know Allie Beth Stuckey is married. I know Riley Gaines is married. Dana Loesch is married. I think Leela Rose is married. I don't really know if any of these other women are. Not many of them have kids. And what are they leading? What are we doing with this? Is this supposed to be just for what? To empower women? Is this any different than what you would get on the left? No, it is. We need to make sure that we continue to push the lie that women can have it all, that you can be your little conservative influencer, or you can go out and have your career and still have your family, or whatever the case may be. And it's okay. Now, the biggest problem, let's get to the one that's the biggest problem. And that is, where is she? Should have had this ready, but I mean, come on, guys. Let's be real. They're never ready. So let's see here. There she is. Nala Ray. Oh, Nala Ray. If you don't know Nala Ray, then you are a much better person. And you are not chronically online as I am. Now, Nala Ray is a reformed adult entertainer, to be nice so YouTube doesn't ban me. And she has gone on various podcasts talking about her depraved and awful acts, and she had an OnlyFans and all of these other things. And then one day she said, I've stopped and I have repented and I've been baptized and I'm a Christian now. Okay, great. I'm happy for you. Why are you speaking at this conference? What are you going to lead young women in? What is the point of having her there? And this is part of the conservative simp problem, because you have, and this is, I don't think the guy cares about me, but you have Jeremy from the Quartering making statements, and I think he needs to. Jeremy's got a problem. Jeremy from the Quartering, he wants to save all the women, because he's such a good man, but he puts this post out that is very interesting, because of course he's getting roasted on it, where he says you either believe in forgiveness or you don't. Because Nala Ray has gone on Michael Knowles, she's gone on all of these conservative Christian podcasts talking about not being a adult entertainer anymore, and now she is reformed and she is a Christian. I don't know what that means. She is a Christian. Okay. And so love Jerry. He is a guy, and he's been in the space forever. Either you believe in forgiveness or you're not. I think that's a false statement. That's a straw man argument, because as I stated below, my response, there's a difference between forgiveness and promotion. Why do we do it time and time again that as soon as somebody from the left or from one of these lifestyles makes a turn, says a couple things, the right trips over itself to embrace them and, promote them and put them on a platform and give them access to all of the conservative housewives? You really want Nala Ray to speak to young women? And the problem is with a lot of these people, when they have a sudden turn, Russell Brand is a similar one. And I'm not doubting Nala Ray's faith journey. I'm not doubting Russell Brand's faith journey, but are they so sound in their teachings, in their life, are they separated far enough from what their previous life was that they can accurately be a spokesman? Now, if they want to do these kinds of things and they want to speak about this on their podcast and people want to listen to them, that's people's freedom of choice. They have absolutely, people can listen to them. They don't have to. You can't, doesn't matter. They're not trying. They're saying, hey, I'm chronicling this and you can come with me if you want. We promote them. We put them in leadership summits. We put them all over the place. Russell Brand is part of the lineup on Rumble, which is fine. But the issue is that these people are not, I believe, and I say this as a person who struggles every day, rock solid enough in their faith to be giving others advice. I think there's a Timothy Woe who gives leadership to those who are, once again, to new people. I think it is. I know Jason Whitlock used it one time, but and so that's Timothy Bible verse. It's a Bible verse. Oh. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not going to be able to find it. But the fact of the matter is, there are quotes in the Bible that actually says, do not be so quick to give leadership roles to those who have not essentially earned it. And the fact is, we here on the right break that time and time and time again. And so it's really not great that we continue to do this. And I have a feeling, only because it's happened before, that somehow Nala Ray will embarrass conservatives. I mean, like her or not, which I do not. Pearl, right? Pearly Things, whatever her name is. She's all over Nala like white on rice. And she goes, well, why haven't you canceled your OnlyFans? Why do you continue to do these things? And so I don't like Pearl, but she's right on some things. Kind of like the Laura Loomer rule. Just because we don't like the person doesn't mean we don't have to discourage the work. As far as digging things up. And so Nala is one of these people that should not be given a platform. We should forgive her. Fine. Yeah. We've all done bad things. If you only knew about my 20s, folks, you probably wouldn't even tune into this show. It is a blessing from God that I didn't die in my 20s, because I would be in hell. Guarantee it. I mean, there's no guarantee I won't be there now. I still have to, walk the straight and narrow as best as possible. But the fact is, we can forgive and say, hey, people make mistakes. I'm glad you're shifting gears and moving in the right path. But should you be talking to others? And of course, the gooners are like, oh, well, she's telling people not to do that stuff. It's great. Yeah, but what if a girl in the audience is like, yeah, that girl made a lot of money. Now she did it. She stopped. Think about this. Well, this girl used to be one. Then she stopped, and now she's on the T. Now she's doing the circuit. Maybe I could do that. Maybe that's a pathway to living easy. You never know how people look at these things. And of course, there are others. You can pick any of these people out in this list. Leela Rose. What is Tulsi Gabbard? Democrat Tulsi Gabbard leading. What do any of these women have? Alex Clark? Is Alex Clark even married? I don't know. And I know you're saying, well, what is that a point? Isn't that what we on the conservative side are trying to say? That women should forsake working in business to become mothers and raise children? I thought that's what we were talking about. I thought that's what the right was, or at least, the movement on the right. These women are contributing to the ever-widening gender wars. They're 100% contributing to it, because they're telling women, you can be leaders in the workplace. You should be everything. You can have it all. They're essentially just reciting the Megyn Kelly argument, the Tommy Lauren argument. They're going to blame men for not being there, for not providing, for whatever the case you want to blah, blah, blah say, and say, you're beautiful, you're perfect. And I think it's a really bad idea. But of course, that's TPUSA for you. It's a terrible organization. And the fact that people still go to them, they still look at Charlie Kirk as some kind of leader, that people actually try to, it's nothing more than a grifting circuit. And that's all that this conference is going to be, which you see with people like Nala being promoted on there. It's not about forgiveness. It's about putting butts in seats. It's about putting controversial people there. So, putting butts in seats so people buy tickets. No man will. If you're a man, you're a simp if you're going to this conference. If you're a man and you go to this conference, you're a simp. What women is this conference going to attract? Right? Wrong one. That's our next story. What women is this? Because women are getting two different messages. One, there are women on the right that are saying, listen, don't do the rat race. Find a good man. Raise children. It'll be the best thing you have ever done in your life. Don't try to do the whole career thing. And then you've got TPUSA saying, nope, be a career woman. Put it off because now Trump's going to make IVF cheap for everybody. You can have a kid whenever you want. You go, girl. Right, Lou? That's what they're saying. You go, girl. It's a contradiction why the right loses. Because we can't stay on message. There's no difference in between the talking points you would hear at that versus a liberal leadership summit, except maybe mentioning God. They'll mention God, but that's about it. All right, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Second story today, as you saw, this is some excellent news. Now, of course, like everything else with Charlotte, the Charlotte diocese, there's a lot of speculation and things that are going on with it. But we should all be thankful that our brothers and sisters in the Charlotte diocese have seemed to have been given a reprieve. So, from Diane Montanaga, we'll go with that. Sorry, Diane, I'm an idiot. Restrictions to the traditional Latin Mass in the Diocese of Charlotte by the bishop have been paused until October 2nd. Why is October 2nd a significant date? Because that was the original time under the thing Traditionis Custodes. Under the original Traditionis Custodes, you would have to go every year. And the previous bishop had agreed with Rome that they could extend their permission to do the Latin Mass until October 2nd, which the former bishop was just going to go ask again and again and again. The new bishop came in and said, nope, we're going to stop that immediately. I'm going to push you out to this tiny little chapel on the outskirts of town. We're going to do 2 masses every Sunday, and on holy days of obligation, good luck. And of course, then there were more documents that were leaked, and there were more restrictions that were being put on, and it was just very tyrannical that this bishop was doing. But today, Bishop Martin said the Vatican issued Bishop Martin announced in the interim, should the Vatican issue any official changes to Traditionis Custodes, the diocese would abide by those instructions. That is a very big deal, because what were people like me saying? People like me were saying, everybody calm down. This is what I originally said. I believed, and I think this is still the correct course of thinking on this, that the Bishop Martin, I believe his name is a Francis disciple, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry, I can't give you a better one. He's a Pope Francis disciple. And with Pope Leo XIV's message of unity in the church and his use of Latin and, these overtures to the conservatives and to the Latin mass goers, and to say he's not going to rule like an autocrat and all of these other things, Bishop Martin knew his time is running out on Traditionis Custodes. So what he did is he went full bore, full restrictions, implemented it to the worst degree possible to get it done now. Why? Because he wanted to peel off as many people from the Latin Mass as possible between now and whenever an update by his own office's admission, an update or any official changes coming to Traditionis Custodes, meaning there are a lot of people that are hoping, and we talked about this last night when I was making fun of LifeSite News. Not really making fun of, just asking, why do we have to be like this? We're hoping, for those of us that celebrate the Latin Mass, I count myself as one of them, that Pope Leo XIV will loosen the restrictions on Traditionis Custodes, if not get rid of it altogether and restore Sanctificum Pontum. I don't know the name of it, but the one that allowed the Latin Mass to be said wherever. And so the fact that, remember, when this initially happened, you had a lot of Catholic doomers, and I'm sorry, but you guys got to get called out on this. You guys said, well, obviously the bishop had permission from people in Rome, or else why would he do this now? Those were the words of some of your favorite Catholic YouTubers. They threw this directly at the feet of Pope Leo XIV. They said, this is Francis 2.0, doom, 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 scared, scared, scared. And people from outside the district or outside the diocese screaming, ripping their hair out, lighting themselves on fire, saying, this is awful. I can't believe this. Blah. When you should have been listening to people like Steve Cunningham, a guy in the diocese, a guy who is in contact with pretty much everybody in the diocese, who said, we have a plan. We know what we're going to do. We're going to take this one day at a time. So instead of listening to those guys, you had other Catholic tubers coming out screaming that Pope Leo must have given the okay to do this. You had people on X. You had some old lady, I don't remember, this was a week or two ago, saying Leo has to be involved with this. He has to. Why else would this be? When really the correct line of thinking, and I'm only saying this because it's my line of thinking on this one, is that this bishop is a Francis disciple, a devotee, wants Pope Francis's agenda implemented as hard as possible before the loosening comes up. Now, if I'm proven wrong, I've done it before. I'll come back on this program and I won't eat my shoe, but I will apologize. I'll say mea culpa, mea maxa culpa. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I actually think my instincts are pretty good on it. And this seems to be pointing in that direction, pointing towards my line of thinking, which, Pope Leo XIV is not going to be the second coming of Pope Pius XII or any of these other popes that we want, or the conservative popes that we feel we desperately need. But he's not going to turn his back on the conservative Latin Mass Catholics. Now, this right here is all speculation. She's done it, and a couple other people have done it, so that's why we're going to report on it. Take this with the biggest grain of salt you can. Earlier today, Pope Leo XIV received an audience, the prefect of the Diocesan for Divine Worship, Cardinal Arthur Roche. I believe that's his name is. It is unknown if the Charlotte TML restrictions were discussed. Now, a lot of people are putting two and two together, that this meeting was done today, and then all of a sudden, Bishop Martin comes out and says, by the way, we're going to push it back to October, and if anything comes out, then we'll approach it when it happens. I'm not going to go so far as to say that is, but I feel vindicated in saying that please give Pope Leo XIV the chance. A lot of you all wrote him off way too soon. Yes, not all of his picks for positions in the Vatican are good. The pontifical, the St. John Paul II Academy for Life, the guy who's there, not a great guy. But I have a feeling that a lot of those picks were kind of pushed in, rushed in, pretty much set up under Francis in his waning days. So that way Leo didn't have a choice. So I think, and this is all speculation on my part, that this bishop made this call with people in the Vatican, Francis appointees and devotees in the Vatican, in the US ACB. We got to do it. Let's do it in Charlotte, because Charlotte, that's a heavy TLM diocese. Let's get after it, and let's try to, put the screws on them as hard as possible to force Leo's hand before he's ready. And it looks like quietly behind the scenes, this is all speculation, quietly behind the scenes, Pope Leo is starting to assert himself. That is known. So it's a great news. It is great news for the people of Charlotte, for the worshipers in Charlotte. I'm so happy for them. There's, I have such great friends and brothers, I would consider, not like brother, but like people there are men that I would trust my life with in the Diocese of Charlotte. And I'm so happy for them and their families that at least they get this reprieve from this unnecessary tyranny that was put upon them to push a political agenda, which is all Traditionis Custodes was. It was a political agenda to really root out the last of the TLM, to push in a boomer-style Vatican II mindset. And I'm happy to see possibly Pope Leo XIV. We don't know. But this to have something change this quickly and on this much of a dime, you can make that assumption yourself. You can put those cards together yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to think. There's a certain way I believe, but that doesn't mean anything. It could be all proven completely wrong. And the last thing I'm going to say is and this is not me throwing shade at Catholic Doom YouTubers or the Trad Cat community guys. I'm just begging y'all, give Leo a chance, man. It's the 3rd of June. He's 5 days away from being in there for a month. And just have faith, have hope, and have charity. The 3 cardinal virtues. I know you. If you guys are better practicers of the faith than I am, which I think most of you are, you guys are praying that on your rosary. I hope you're not just repeating it for words, for faith, hope, and charity. I hope you guys are living that. I try to, by the way, fail every single day at it. Every single day at it, I fail. Still pray for it. And, hopefully we continue to pray for the Pope. Hopefully this will be the beginning of the fixing of this absolute injustice that was done to the good people of Charlotte. So great news out of Charlotte. People are going to start putting two and two together. If you want, that's fine. I've done a little bit of it right now. I've told you, none of it is provable. None of it is solid, but we can only assume. What we do know, my brothers and sisters in Christ, my fellow Catholic brothers and sisters, it's God's church. He's in charge. So I think we should kind of sit back and let him run it. All right. Let's get to our first story of the day here on RickCast. Got some good showings. What's going on to everybody out on Getter and on Rumble, YouTube. Of course, my bar rats. There are not as many bar rats. I don't expect the bar rats to be as many during June, July. It's slow during the months of June and July. Nobody likes the summer. Nobody likes the summer. Everybody's outside. The topics kind of die down. But if you're hanging out with me, thank you. It means the world to me that you spend your time with me. There's a lot of choices out there, and I don't know why you're here. To be completely honest, I don't know. But thank you. All right, let's get to our next story of the day. Our first official story of the day. More good news. I think it's fantastic, to be completely honest with you. From groundnews.com, Sect Death Hegseth orders renaming of Navy ships honoring gay rights activist Harvey Milk. Now, real quickly, Harvey Milk was a rapist. 33, he engaged with a 16-year-old troubled runaway to do things with. All of you can read it here. The boy threatened to unalive himself and eventually did. And Harvey Milk is not somebody to be emulated. He's not somebody you put on the side of a ship. And of course, the left, Chuck Schumer and all these other people. This is such a bad idea. I can't believe it's discrimination during Pride Month. You know what? Pride Month is canceled, homie. There is no such thing as Pride Month. Pride Month doesn't exist. It's a construct in your little liberal mind. Pride Month is not a thing. You know what June is? It's the month of the Sacred Heart of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's what it is. It's nothing else. There is no such thing as Pride Month anymore. It's gone. Just take it to the bank. It's over. But I'm kind of happy with it. I'm happy with this. In June 2025, Defense Secretary SecDef Pete Hegseth directed the Navy to rename the oiler vessel that has been designated to honor Harvey Milk. The directive represents a wider reversal of previous efforts supporting diversity, equity, inclusion among vessels honoring prominent figures from the civil rights history, now being considered for renaming. I don't want my ships to be named after homosexuals. I don't want the U.S. Navy, which already has a reputation as it is. I'm sorry, I just had to do it. You Navy guys are great. My dad's a CB. My dad was a CB, right? We build, we fight. I love the Navy. I always root for Navy and then the Army-Navy game. But still, Navy guys. But, right? Why don't we name it the USS Robert E. Lee? Let's name it after, like, badass America. I wouldn't mind, like, USS Harriet Tubman, right? She was a freedom fighter. I want my ships to be named after fighters, after tough Americans. I don't want them named after, like, some homosexual. I don't care. I mean, that's not something I want. And I think most Americans are like, why do we have these ships named after these people? Anyway, U.S. Navy's Harvey Milk launched in 2021 as part of the John Lewis class named for civil rights icons, honors Harvey Milk, a Navy veteran. I don't care if he's a Navy veteran, especially if he is a pedophile who was a person who engaged in unnatural behaviors. And, there's plenty of Navy veterans you can name them after. Name them after presidents. I don't care. It'd be funny if they took the Harvey Milk and named it the Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump will wait for like the biggest aircraft carrier ever made, and then he'll name it after himself, which is fine. Whatever. Right? You can't name it after an oil tanker. It's got to be the biggest aircraft carrier ever. That's the Trump, the USS Trump, and I'm gonna bomb the crap out of everybody. Right? That's how Trump has to look at it. But the fact of the matter is, it's embarrassing. Let's just be completely honest. It's embarrassing that you have, the DEI fleet. No. Let the Navy, and I get it. He was a Navy veteran. Yeah, but he's not known as a naval veteran. He's really known for non-natural acts and engaging in illegal activities. So let's not honor that guy. Let's honor other Navy veterans. Let's honor men that died in combat, that fought for this union of states. There are plenty of them out there. So why don't we do that instead? Oh, look at this. Lou always bringing the facts. His discharge from the Navy was other than honorable. Then no, you don't get a ship. You don't get a ship if you're discharged for something other than honorable, right? Name them after Seabees, name them after Marines, name them after captains. I don't care. You got enough of them. Name them after something, right? Towns. You got plenty of towns, plenty of other things you can name, right? USS Dallas, Houston, Austin, right? You can name them after do we have a ship? Like, is there a USS Crockett? Right? USS Davy Crockett. That would be awesome. Let me see. Did we ever have the USS? Oh, there was one. 1966. You know what? Reclassify it. Give it a new name and send it back out there. The fact is, the whole DEI thing needs to go away. And that includes honoring people that shouldn't be honored. They shouldn't be honored. And just because they fit a political agenda. Imagine if you had to serve on the Harvey Milk. Ugh, that's gross. Anyway, big thumbs up to Pete Hegseth. I'll give him that. In the things that I really like, I like this. I like it because, you don't want the Navy is supposed to be the tip of the spear, right? And you don't want like the DEI squad being a part of that. I'm sorry if you think that's mean or racist or any of these other things. It's how me and a lot of other people feel in this regard. All right, folks, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. The USS RickCast. No. If it is, it would be one of those PT boats. Whatever the tiniest ship in the Navy is, that would be the RickCast. Because I'm not a big guy, so the USS RickCast would be fine. It would be the tiniest little PT boat, like a jet ski. It wouldn't be an aircraft carrier by any means. It would be a tiny little boat. Do they have jet skis in the Navy? Because if they do, then that would be the USS RickCast. And it would just go in a circle because it doesn't know what it's doing. Yeah, whatever. All right. Second story of the day. This one kind of blew me away. Now, this story came out that there is in the big, beautiful bill that passed the House and now it's in the Senate. Apparently, people in the Senate have more time to read things than people in the House. Why the people in the House deserve any money at all, right? Because they get paid $175,000 a year. Apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene was too busy doing CrossFit and didn't realize that there was actually pages 278 and 279 of the OBB, the big beautiful bill. This is the crazy thing. This section strips states of the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. And everybody was too busy saying, we got to pass the bill. We got to pass the big beautiful bill. We got to get Trump's agenda in, blah, blah, blah. Nobody decided to read it. And guess what? Some of them probably ran it through the AI, like ChatGPT or something. And the AI was probably going, yeah, we don't need to read this part. It probably just skipped right over it. Don't you have like interns to read these things? Right? You got like people that make $4 an hour to get bagels. Give them the bill and have them read it all night. It's not like they're doing anything else in DC. I'm sure they're doing other things, but if they read the bill, they're not. So this is something that people are going, wait. That the state of Texas or the state of California or Rhode Island or Oregon, they won't be able to regulate artificial intelligence for 10 years. So AI is going to be able to run wild like in Mission Impossible. The entity is going to be able to run wild and do whatever it wants, and states are going to be powerless to do anything about it. Great. Of course, I will give Marjorie Taylor Greene credit. I don't want to blast her the entire time because she at least was like, listen, I didn't read this part. That's my fault. A lot of others will be like, oh, well, I didn't think it was a big deal or anything else like that. I have to give her points for being honest. So she says she's admittedly opposed to not regulating AI at the state level, and it's a violation of states' rights, and she would have voted no if she had known it was in there. Well, Marjorie, you really need to read the stuff. Yeah. You get paid to do one thing, which is read bills and vote on them. Now, of course, this speaks to a larger issue that we should not have omnibus massive bills and everything should be one bill at a time. There should have been a bill on whatever, codifying the Doge cuts and another bill on, no taxes on tips and another bill on this and another bill on that. Instead, they just shove everything into these big fat bills. They don't read them. Then they pass them. They do the Nancy Pelosi principle, which is you got to pass the thing to read what's in it. And so they pass it and then they go, oh, holy goodness gracious, great Googa Mooga. We can't regulate AI. Well, it's already in the bill. Sorry, guys. Good luck. And Lou is right. 10 years is an eternity in the tech world. What if in 10 years AI is not able to be regulated? Because you've allowed it to run free for 10 stinking years. So Marjorie continues, we have no idea what AI will be capable of in the next 10 years, and giving it free rein and tying the state's hands is potentially dangerous. This needs to be stripped out in the Senate. When the big, beautiful bill comes back to the House for approval after the Senate, she will not vote for this in it. Well, at least she's bringing attention to it. Once again, she had a huge drop. She dropped the ball in not reading it the first time. I will give her a little bit of a pass because I'm sure Speaker Johnson was like, don't read it. It's fine. We got to pass it or else President Trump's going to get all up on me. We got to get this thing passed. We got to do something in Congress with the House and the Senate. We got to get this thing done. So, of course, She was probably just being a good soldier and voting for it to give Speaker Johnson the win. If you know anything about politics, that's most likely how it went. But now she's probably getting phone calls from constituents who are going, what are you doing? You can't have this in the bill. You can't have AI running free for 10 years and not having any stopgap. Well, the federal government will do it. Well, really? The federal government will do it? Because AI will serve the federal government. Let's be real. It exists to only do that. We should not be reducing federal power, and we should be reducing federal power and preserving state power. There's no way around it, especially with rapid developing AI that even experts warn they have no idea what it may be capable of. So, of course, she's getting absolutely excoriated, as my big word of the day is. I guess I do have challenge words of the day. Ironic. She's being excoriated for this, and she absolutely deserves it. But at least she's going to be one of the few that comes out and says, yeah, we done messed up. I didn't read it, but when it comes back, we'll fix it. At least she's acknowledging that she made the mistake and that she's vowing that she is going to make this an issue when it comes back. But we've talked about AI a lot on this program. We cover it when we had the CEO of an AI company. I said, yeah, by the way, all the entry-level jobs, they're going to be gone. And it's an interesting dynamic because you hear guys like Timcast and other, big platforms talk about things, Crowder and others talking about AI and its devastating impact. And I know it was either Brian or G Money saying that a lot of these entry-level jobs will be women. What's going to happen to that part of the workforce when you won't be able to go to leadership summits anymore, when AI destroys things like OnlyFans and destroys entry-level work and destroys all the data, the data collection stuff and things, the call center jobs that they have? There's going to be a huge shift in both how we relate culturally and how we work. So one of the things we've talked about in this program and other people have talked about is that Trump is trying to bring back manufacturing as a bit of a crutch to the AI destroying the job market. If we have manufacturing being brought back, whether it's steel or iPhones or chip manufacturing, whatever it is, there'll be something because the AI cannot do that right now, right? So construction, steel manufacturing, shipbuilding, because we don't build ships right now. All of these things will at least give men the ability to work again. Of course, I'm sure some women or women are watching this going, what about women? Well, if I'm trying to have a ship built, I'm not hiring a woman to help me weld stuff. They've tried it. There are, linemen for electric companies. They've tried programs to bring women in. And guess what? Women are like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go be a lineman. So especially females in the next 10 years are going to experience a huge question, a huge dilemma. This world that they were promised, you can go have a career and you can do all these things, might not be there in 5, 6, 7 years. So what do? They can't go do OnlyFans. They can't go because the AI has replaced all of that. You may see a shift, women being like, well, guess it's time to find a husband and settle down. Which will your modern American woman take that choice? I don't know. But if you're a dude, I know we got a lot of guys, who watch the show. They kind of have AI proof jobs now. And I think I need to find one. I need to find one as well. In labor and things like right now, an AI can't change your oil in your car. Of course, going to electric vehicles, that won't be really that much of a help. But the shift in AI on the culture, whether it's work, dating, relationships, it's going to transform all of Western civilization. And it's going to be very interesting to see how most people react. I think a lot of people are going to be very hesitant to react to such a thing. But good on Marjorie Taylor Greene for at least saying, my bad. I can't, I missed this and I'll try to do better next time. You know what? In the world of politicians, you got to take what you can get. So I salute her. Yeah, she's getting massively burned on, she's getting taken to the woodshed. She deserves it. But at least at the same time, she's saying, I made that mistake and I'll make up for it. So got to give her credit where it's due. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a couple seconds again because I want to make this shout out. If you have the ability to, please take the time to donate to my good friend Dean Oaks GoFundMe. He is in a pretty bad position right now. He's got to go in for some more surgery and some more work, and he could definitely use some help with some funds. And if you can, go to the GoFundMe in the link in the chat. Please donate whatever you can if you have the ability to donate. He's got to go in for surgery, and he needs to raise some funds to do so because he's in a pretty tough spot. He's disabled after a bad trucking accident, and any help you can give to him would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Help my good friend Dean. He's a good man. He's a good soul, and he deserves better than the hand he's been dealt. And if we can all just kind of chip in to help out with that in any way you can, whether it's now, later, please consider it if you have the ability to. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next story of the day. Not a surprise from groundnews.com. Trump privately is complaining about Amy Coney Barrett and other Supreme Court justices that he nominated, according to, of course, CNN. Now, this doesn't shock me in any way, shape, or form that he is not happy about this, because the lawfare that has been unleashed on Trump through the first 100 days of his presidency and so forth, with the injunctions and all these other things, and SCOTUS is kind of just sitting by. Whether it's the AR-15 thing, which if you looked a little closer, what they're trying to say is, listen, we need the lower courts to really do all this. And we have to get out of our head that the SCOTUS is some kind of emergency break glass type thing. It's not. SCOTUS is not an emergency release valve. It will take its time because it does not want to break tradition. John Roberts is famous for one thing. It's that he will not break his tradition or the way that the SCOTUS has acted for political gains. Now, if it was a leftist Chief Justice, they would absolutely do it, but that's neither here nor there. And that drags us into whataboutism if we start doing that. And I don't want to follow that too much. But so President Donald Trump has privately expressed frustration that the Supreme Court justices he appointed, especially Amy Coney Barrett, have not consistently supported his agenda. Now, of course, the left will say, what do you expect? You expect these justices to do your bidding, Donald Trump? And the right is just saying, listen, in the Obergefell case, you had Sonia Sotomayor and and Kagan had both officiated same-sex weddings, quote unquote. Yet they didn't find it that they needed to step down from those things. The left has no problem lining up behind the agenda of the Progressive Party and executing said agenda. The right, whether it's principles or whatever else you want to say, constantly shoots its own foot off. Now, you can come after me if you want, saying, well, Rick, that's why we're better, this, that, and the other thing. I get it, but there are times where SCOTUS should look at the fact that all the things that John Roberts is doing is really hindering and setting up the left to be able to do what they want. When the right doesn't do anything, the left flourishes. I think we can all agree on that. The left gets its way, does its thing, and the right kind of sits back and goes, well, we don't want to exert such power, because if we do, when they get into the position, they're going to do it. The spoiler alert is the left does it anyway. So I don't know why we have such a problem doing said things, right? This is not the same game that we were playing 20, 30 years ago. Trump's dissatisfaction stems from perceived inconsistencies in Barrett's rulings and critiques from allies who view her as weaker than expected after the 2020 nomination. I'll give Tim Pool credit on this one. I think he nailed it completely in his analysis when he said Amy Coney Barrett before the Roe ruling versus after is a completely different person because she's scared. I think that's how you have to acknowledge it. She voted in favor of overturning Roe, which is going to be useless now that Trump's going to put in his IVF executive order. But she participated in the overturning of Roe. She saw the backlash and the threats that were made against guys like Kavanaugh. She's seen how SCOTUS is being left out of the SCOTUS is kind of being left out in the lurch. That people don't really respect it unless they get what they want out of it. And Michael Thomas, you're 100% correct on that. And so you can see how she reacted or how she ruled or participated pre-Roe versus post-Roe. She's a completely different judge post-Roe because she's scared. And I don't blame her. And that's why as we need to make sure, hold on, before I make such a blatant state, let's get the misogyny alert going. Women shouldn't be justices. Women shouldn't be judges. They shouldn't be in this process because they are ruled by emotion. And I'm not saying they lack the courage to make the tough call, but they do think about the things, the longer term ramifications and that women are more safety conscious, right? That's not a negative. That's what makes them great mothers and wives when God created men and women to be companions. Women are safety conscious. They're empathetic. They have all of these traits that men generally do not have. And that's why we work, when we cooperate with God and we act within our roles, that's why we work well together, not the modern version of it. But women should not be in these positions because they will let fear run their decision-making. Most of the time, a correctly formed man, meaning, they're formed correctly, give it to Alito, give it to Thomas. They're formed correctly, right? Especially Clarence Thomas. He's God, then country, right? He knows where he is. And so he is not afraid. He wants the tough cases. He wanted the AR-15 case. He wants these cases. He wants to make these decisions. He wants to make the line clear. Amy Coney Barrett, being nervous or thinking about it in a more safety conscious way, is going, well, maybe we shouldn't. Another one is the Catholic school example in Oklahoma. Well, I'm a Catholic, so I can't rule on this. Kavanaugh's a Catholic, and so supposedly Thomas. And Thomas is like, give me the stupid ruling. Give it to us. Let us rule on this. They ruled in favor of it. And so if I was Trump, I'd sit there and go, well, y'all told me to nominate this woman because she's smart and she knows what she's doing and she's all these other things, but she lacks the fortitude to make the tough call. Though Barrett has sided with conservative justices on many cases to grant Trump broad immunities, she's also ruled against him on matters like a $2 billion foreign aid freeze and other things. Trump has described Barrett as a very good woman and very smart while avoiding public attacks despite private complaints, calling her weak. I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. I think she was a professor, right, at Notre Dame. She's not stupid. Nobody's calling her stupid. Nobody's calling her a bad person. I think the way people are, you think she's weak. You think she's dumb. No, I actually think it's the opposite. I think she overthinks things. I think she's overthinking it instead of saying, this is the correct call. This is what needs to be made. Let's do it. As men can compartmentalize and say, this is the right call. Let's go with it. She starts to think, what about my family? What about this? And what about that? What if somebody tries to come after me like they tried to come after Kavanaugh? Maybe they already have and we haven't found out about it, right? Maybe her life has been put in danger by people. They have made threats against her life. Maybe they have. And she's just like, I can't do this. I have a family. So she's not stupid. And she's not a bad person. I think that needs to be said loud and clear. I don't think anybody would say that about her. I don't think anybody thinks she's dumb or bad or any of that kind of stuff. I believe what we think is she's not strong enough to make the tough call. And there's 95% of people are that way. Men nowadays too. They don't have that whatever that programming is to say whatever the long range benefit, the long-term good that this ruling will make outweighs my personal safety, outweighs this, outweighs that. Right? Thomas has made crazy. He's been on the side of the right on every ruling. He gets in his RV and he drives around anyway. He don't care. Alito's the same way. When you're formed correctly, there isn't anything that should scare you. And I'm not saying Amy Coney Barrett's not formed correctly. I don't doubt her Catholicism or any of that kind of stuff. But she is in a position that should typically go to a man. I don't believe women should be on courts because they tend to rule with empathy. They tend to rule with their strengths. And that's not what you need from somebody when you need a decisive decision. So it's I don't blame Trump for being frustrated. The ongoing tension suggests divisions within conservative circles about judicial loyalty and may influence the selection of future judicial nominees aligned with Trump's expectations. Yeah, if you're Trump and you get another crack at it, the first thing is, are you going to be loyal to the right, and are you going to rule in favor of the right on these things? And you know what? The left gets a pass. Jackson Brown, whatever her name is, literally said she didn't understand what a woman was, and she still got voted in. Because nobody wanted to vote against a black woman. So she was able to spit leftist nonsense in her confirmation hearing, and they were like, well, I guess we got to let her in. And she's so bad in these arguments that even Sonia Sotomayor had to tell her to shut up in oral arguments. But we let her in because we couldn't push back on it. So at this point, the way the country is structured, the way we are as far as political strife that we are dealing with, you got to find people that are in the foxhole with you. You got to find more Thomases and Alitos and less Kavanaughs and Barretts. Even Gorsuch is like, but he's more within the agenda than not, even though he's the guy that crowbarred transgenderism into the 14th Amendment in the Civil Rights Act. So, that says whatever it wants about it. The right always has to do this. The right always has to play this game where, well, we're not too conservative, but we don't want to be this, but and the left's like, whatever, we're just going to vote however we want. And nobody's ever going to question us because the left's going to give us cover. Academia and the news is going to cover for us. And we're going to be viewed as, omnipotent sages of law, which, by the way, whenever the left does get into power again, they're going to pack that court with as many leftists as possible. And those leftists are going to not care about purity tests. They're going to tell you, I'm going to vote for leftist issues. And they're going to get voted in. And we're going to sit back pulling our hair out going, why are we always in this position? Because we have to placate. Now, some say, well, he had to nominate a woman. There was another woman, I forgot. She was out of Florida, I believe, and she was a great choice that a lot of people were saying, listen, you got to pick this one. But Amy Coney Barrett was a better, she had better optics and so forth, and whatever the case may be, she had a longer track record or whatever. And so it is what it is in that regard. And that's why we're where we are currently at. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. Thank you for hanging out with me on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday, the 3rd of June, 2025. A note for Thursday. Thursday, RickCast will be at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Why? Because I have tickets to the John Wick movie Ballerina at 7, which I will be doing a review on RickCast review on Friday. I'll drop a review for you guys. So the show will be live. It'll be live at 5, not at 6. The show will be live at 5, not at 6. So RickCast will be live at 5. If you miss it, it'll be up here for you guys to catch up on it whenever you go. Let's get to some comments here. Trump does not have a good track record of picking support staff. Now, Michael, you're correct. But when it comes to the judges, he went by the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society supported Amy Coney Barrett. So I think when he has that choice, they walk in and they say, listen, she is, this is from thehill.com. Federalist Society leader defends demonstrably conservative Amy Coney Barrett. So she is part of the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society walked in, gave him a list and said, pick some of these women. We back them. They're all conservative justices. And, then it becomes, which one do you think we can get through? And that's where Amy Coney Barrett came up with. So I'm not going to blame Trump too much on that pick because he doesn't know anything about the justices. He's relying on the Federalist Society. And the Federalist Society said, Amy Coney Barrett's going to work for you. Pick her or pick this other woman. So yeah, he's not great at picking support staff, but that one, he's probably frustrated because he's like, you guys told me this woman, she's conservative and she is, but she's not helping me. And so that's probably one of those things either. So, yeah. And this is Crouchy. You're 100% correct. This is what I've been screaming on gun Twitter for the last 2 days. Gun Twitter is crying into its milk about not getting the Ocean State case or the Maryland case looked at by SCOTUS. And I'm telling them, stop relying on SCOTUS for your gun rights. You need to do these things at the local level. But instead, because they're all national organizations and, Firearms Protection Coalition, Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, they're all national organizations. So, of course, they're going to let's go to SCOTUS. Let's sue and go to SCOTUS. And I keep telling people, you had 15 years between Heller and Bruen. Remember that. You guys think that you got the Bruen decision that you can just run to SCOTUS and they're going to give you a decision on guns. It's probably going to be another 15 years before you get another major decision on guns. And that might be with a leftist court unless you shore up your local elections and your local policy. That is the way forward. And it's not just guns, it's any policy that you want, but instead the right has been conditioned. Vote for Trump and he'll take care of it. Oh, go to SCOTUS, they'll take care of it. Keep going to Washington, they'll help you. When they don't want to help you, and most of the time they won't. So you're 100% right. We have to stop worrying about what the SCOTUS says. And we have to be like California was when it started just disregarding federal substance bans on things like marijuana. Like, we're just going to start selling it anyway. You guys do what you got to do. Yeah, Michael, next time I go to Vegas, I am going to be a tourist and I'm probably going to go check that out. I'm a huge John Wick fan, so I'm excited for the Ballerina movie. I hope it's going to be good. I'm not expecting it to be on the level of the John Wick films. I like films when they can actually expand the universe a bit. And I like the idea of expanding the John Wick universe. There's, who is his buddy? The guy that was blind. I'd love to see a movie about that guy. I would love to see a movie about that guy. His buddy who was blind. One of the little things on that movie that I loved was that he actually didn't have sights on his firearm. Which, why would a blind guy have sights on his firearm? But so if you looked at his guns in the movie, they didn't have iron sights. So it's fantastic. I would love to see a movie about that guy. But yeah, Michael, we can't really live with these people. I mean, that's kind of the uneasy question that is being floated around by many. Like, how long do we do this? I don't know. All right, let's get to our entertainment story of the night. Disney. This was a huge story today that shocked. Can I get rid of these stupid ads? Post millennial. Can you stop with these ads, please? Can I get rid of it? Nope. Okay. Anyway, Disney to lay off hundreds of finance, film, and TV employees, according to a report. Several hundred employees are being laid off by the Walt Disney Company starting on Monday, to a report from Deadline. Cuts are impacting the company worldwide. Per the outlet, citing sources familiar with the matter, the cuts primarily affect the Disney Entertainment as well as the corporate finance side of the company. Marketing, filming, casting, and development will be impacted. Most of the affected Disney Entertainment television staff that are being let go are reportedly located in Los Angeles, but no teams are being completely eliminated. Now, Disney has blown so much money trying to defeat Netflix. Midnight's Edge did a great video talking about how the streaming wars destroyed Hollywood, how streaming destroyed Hollywood. Hollywood used to have multiple streams of income. They would have the film, then they would have leasing to cable, then they would have video on demand, then they would have the physical release. There was like 4 or 5 different income streams. And the most profitable one, at least from 2000 to like 2012, was physical media, because you would have the DVD, the special edition DVD, the super special edition DVD merchandise. That's correct. And all the DVD sales was like a second release. There's a famous video from Matt Damon on Hot Ones, where he said, listen, you could make a movie for $65 million, $70 million. And even if the movie bombed, let's say it cost $65 million. And then with marketing, it cost around like 90. And you made on the total box office run, like 50 to 55 million. You got a second box office, a second opening weekend, the first time DVDs dropped, because you would get $1 or $2 for every DVD sold. Essentially, I'm fudging the numbers a little bit here, but you would have a second window of, money dropping. And then, of course, if you had things like Redbox with rentals and all these other kinds of things, you had multiple streams of income coming in. Streaming blew all of that away because Netflix was a disruptor. The industry had 2 choices. The industry could say, listen, Netflix pays us boatloads of money to let them use our content. We can continue to just let them use our content and get money for it while we continue to do our traditional streams. Or for some reason, Bob Iger in particular saw that Netflix was making all this money, and we're going to beat Netflix because we're going to have a better catalog, and we're Disney, and we're just going to destroy them. Yeah, I should have done this before. And how much money has Disney spent on Disney Plus? I think D Plus from Tommy Boy every time I got D Plus. Check this out. Disney pledged to spend between 14 to $16 billion on streaming content by 2024. Additionally, Disney Plus has seen a revenue increase, and so forth. And so they pledged to put 14 to $16 billion into streaming. And guess what, folks? That's on top of the billions they spent for Star Wars, the billions they spent for Marvel, the billions they spent for Fox. They haven't made any of that. I mean, Marvel has made some money back on those things. But if you don't make your money in theaters, especially with, 2020, and then they shortened the window to some of them doing day and date release like Black Widow, then, they even had something. They had Hulu, Michael. All the major networks had a share of Hulu, and they all split the money off of Hulu. And so they had something from that. So yeah, maybe they should have acquired like Tubi and gone from there or something instead of trying to build something out from scratch. But this has been an utter failure. For the entertainment giant, this is the 4th round of layoffs since mid-2024. As part of a cost-cutting program, when Bob Iger returned in 2023, he had a goal of $7.5 billion in costs. In March earlier this year, there were around 200 Disney workers laid off from the corporation, and so forth. The latest cuts also follow better than expected Q2 earnings from the company. And that was really driven off that Abu Dhabi announcement. And of course, sports. Last year, Iger emphasized the need to increase the selling of experiences to Disney customers, blah, blah, blah. And I guess that's it. So they are getting absolutely hammered. I don't like seeing this woman on my screen. Can we get rid of her? That woman, baby, I don't want anything to do with that. So Disney has absolutely tanked when it comes to the streaming wars, and they lost. There's really 3 winners of the streaming wars, right? You had Apple, you had Paramount Plus, you had Peacock, you had Prime, you had Netflix, of course, you had Disney Plus, there's a couple more where people kind of popped up on service. Why? Most of these are going to get consolidated into another. I think most of them are going to be absorbed into Amazon Prime, to be completely honest with you. Like right now, if you have Prime Video, you can get Apple TV and Paramount Plus and a couple others through subscription, which I think that's going to eventually happen. Most of them are going to be there, and they'll just be existing catalogs in that massive catalog of things. But Netflix, despite the fact that it has awful programming and pushes nefarious agendas, it never lost its leading status. So a lot of people think Netflix won because everybody else came after them and they're still on top. Prime Video is supposedly a winner in this thing. Once again, this is all for Midnight Edge. Go check out his video. Because they went a different route. They acquired things because guess what? If there's any kind of product placement in a movie, they have something that pops up. If you ever watched a movie on Amazon, it'll pop up and like, do you like this watch? Buy this watch on Amazon. And then they just use it as a big advertising for the Amazon platform. So that's how they've been able to adjust those things. Like that movie Red One, the Christmas movie, which wasn't actually that bad. Most people didn't like it. Amazon didn't care. A, they got enough money to absorb it. And B, it's just a big advertising when it goes on Amazon. It's a big advertisement for stuff you can buy there. It's a Christmas movie with toys. So, of course, they were like, oh, do you like this toy? You can buy it on Amazon right now, or these shoes, or this, whatever. So that's how they were able to get around it. But according to Midnight's Edge, which I completely agree with, Sony is the biggest winner of the streaming wars. And the reason why Sony is the biggest winner of the streaming wars is because Sony was smart enough to say, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the catalog, we don't have the time or the money to spend on this. You know what? This relationship with Netflix is fine because once the movie comes out on streaming, Netflix pays us a bunch of money, we give it to them, and they distribute it, and we're fine from there. You can see this because David Zaslav, who has HBO, he's running HBO Discovery Plus, whatever it is. He's actually licensing out his movies to places like Tubi and everywhere else because you make money from that. So they all followed this stupid idea because they traded making money from physical releases that can go forever. You can sell DVDs forever, right? You can always make money because those DVDs will be on the shelf and they're still $15 until they hit the $5 bin, right? They're $15-$16. And if you want to generate interest in it, guess what? You have a new edition or it's updated. Now it's in 4K or whatever the case may be. And people will continue to buy them. Streaming, you download a movie for $1.99, they get cents on the dollar instead of dollars. They get cents. And so this streaming is going to go down as the thing that absolutely kneecapped Hollywood and put it in the position it's in today. It's going broke because everybody spent their money on streaming services. And this guy, Bob Iger, instead of being remembered as the man who was able to buy Marvel and Star Wars and Fox and this great innovator, he's going to be the guy that destroyed the Disney company. He's not going to be able to save his reputation. So, yeah. Sorry, Bob. You made a bad guy. The fact that you forsook or forsaken, can't really say it correctly, a solid money-making scheme. Now, of course, I do get it because cable was dying. Cable was going away. But enough people still had cable that you could still push stuff out on cable and then on POD. Just keep the physical media. That's all they had to do was just keep the physical media and they would have been fine. But instead, they all wanted to be Netflix when in reality, there was only room for one Netflix. There was only room for one disruptor. Everybody can't be a disruptor. You have room for one disruptor, but you can't have room for 7, 8 disruptors because they cannibalized each other. Because what the problem became is, oh, well, Disney Plus has a lot of stuff, but it doesn't have everything. And you guys know this if you've been in the streaming end. Oh, well, okay. Disney Plus's catalog, by the way, was trash. I got it for the month for Daredevil. I was like one of the few people that actually got a Disney Plus subscription for Daredevil. Disney Plus's catalog is terrible. And so you're like, oh, well, they have some stuff on Disney Plus, some stuff on Netflix. They have Longmire on Paramount, but then they have Grimm on Peacock. And so you're trying to juggle through all of these different streaming services when Netflix pretty much had everything and they paid people for it. They paid them. So my dad, God rest his soul, had a saying that I try to live this day. Maybe you've heard of it. Pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. And every single streaming service outside of Netflix became hogs. Netflix is still a pig. So all these other streaming services are going to get slaughtered as they try to figure out what to do with themselves. And guys like Bob Iger over here are going to be the ones to blame. All right, so that's it for RickCast once again, ladies and gentlemen. There will be a show on Thursday, but it's going to be an hour earlier. It's going to be an hour earlier because I'm going to the ballerina show, the ballerina movie at 7 p.m. And I want to, it takes me like 30 minutes to get there. So the show will be from 5 to 6 Central Time, 6 to 7 Eastern. It's going to be live. If you can't catch it live, there will be a show for you to watch in the replay. And so that'll be the case. If you're interested in my review of the ballerina movie, go subscribe to RickCast Reviews. I'll drop a review on there on Friday for y'all. But that's for Thursday. Tomorrow is going to be the same time as always. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. That helps the show grow and, all the great things. Thank you for hanging out with me on Rumble and on Getter and on Kick and X and Twitch. And of course, my bar rats hanging out with me on YouTube. You guys are the best. I really do appreciate it. I do love y'all. So thank y'all all so much for hanging out with me. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Same time as always. Same RickCast time. Same RickCast channel. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor. Wrong button.